What if I told you that Jujutsu Kaisen's manga ending wasn't just controversial by accident, but was actually the most thematically consistent conclusion Gege Akutami could have written? While thousands of fans rage about unsatisfying character arcs and unanswered questions, they might be missing the entire point of what this story was always trying to say about curses, cycles, and the cost of breaking them. Jujutsu Kaisen concluded its manga run with chapter 271, and the internet exploded. Some called it rushed. Others called it brilliant. But here's what matters. This ending represents one of the most deliberately unconventional conclusions in modern shonen history, and understanding why Gege made these choices reveals the true heart of Jujutsu Kaisen's philosophy. By the end of this explanation, you'll see how every controversial decision, from character deaths to unresolved plot threads, actually serves a deeper purpose that most readers overlooked in their first reaction. Let's start with the elephant in the room, the Shinjuku Showdown arc and everything that followed. This final stretch of Jujutsu Kaisen was defined by one overwhelming presence: Ryomen Sukuna, the king of curses. The battle against Sukuna wasn't just the longest fight in the series, it was a brutal war of attrition that systematically broke down every expectation we had about shonen battle manga. Characters didn't get heroic one-on-one victories. They got worn down, killed off, or sidelined in ways that felt almost cruel. And that's exactly the point. Gege Akutami spent years building up to this confrontation, but instead of giving us a traditional climax where the protagonist achieves a miraculous power-up and saves the day alone, we got something far more realistic and unsettling. Yuji Itadori, our main character, didn't defeat Sukuna through some hidden potential or by unlocking a secret technique passed down from his parents. He won through collective effort, through sacrifice, through watching his friends and mentors fall one by one, until finally, alongside Megumi Fushiguro's restored consciousness, they brought down the King of Curses together. This wasn't about individual glory. It was about survival at any cost. But Sukuna's defeat wasn't even the real ending. That's where Gege subverted expectations again. The true final conflict involved Yuta Okotsu taking over Gojo Satoru's body, a decision so controversial it nearly broke the fandom in half. When Gojo died at Sukuna's hands, it seemed final. But Yuta, in a desperate gamble to defeat Sukuna, used Kenjaku's technique to transplant his consciousness into Gojo's corpse. This moment crystallized everything Jujutsu Kaisen had been building toward: the dehumanization that comes from treating people as tools, even when done with good intentions. Yuta survived this ordeal and returned to his own restored body, but the ethical implications lingered like a curse that couldn't be exorcised. Now, if you haven't read the manga and want to experience it yourself, this is your spoiler warning. Everything from here goes deep into endgame territory. The most divisive aspect of the ending is what it doesn't give us. Gojo Satoru stays dead. There's no resurrection, no final goodbye scene, no dramatic closure. We get glimpses of him in flashbacks during the airport scene, a liminal space where he converses with fallen comrades, but in the present timeline, he's gone. For a character who was the face of the series alongside Yuji, this feels almost insulting to some fans. But thematically, it's perfect. Gojo's entire character arc was about being the strongest, about being so powerful that he warped the world around him just by existing. His death represents the breaking of that cycle, the world learning to move forward without relying on one untouchable figure to solve everything. Then there's Megumi Fushiguro, who spent a significant portion of the final arc as a passenger in his own body, while Sukuna used him as a vessel. When Megumi finally regains control, he's traumatized, broken, having watched Sukuna use his technique to kill his sister Tsumiki, among others. The manga doesn't give us a satisfying recovery arc for Megumi. Instead, we see him in the aftermath, clearly struggling, but alive. Some fans wanted more, wanted to see him process and overcome this trauma on page. But Jujutsu Kaisen has never been about neat resolutions. Trauma doesn't resolve in a chapter. Megumi's pain is ongoing, and that's more honest than any triumphant recovery speech could be. Nobara Kugisaki's return is another flashpoint. After being presumed dead since Shibuya, she returns during the final battle with minimal fanfare, delivers a crucial blow against Sukuna, and then fades back into recovery. No dramatic reunion with Yuji. No extended explanation of how she survived. Just the stark reality of her reappearance when she was needed most. This frustrated fans who wanted emotional payoff, but it reinforces the series' central theme. Jujutsu sorcerers are weapons first, people second, and the system doesn't pause for sentiment. The post-Sukuna world is where Gege's vision becomes clearest. With the King of Curses defeated and many of the old guard dead or retired, we see the next generation beginning to take shape. New sorcerers are rising. The political landscape of Jujutsu society is shifting. Yuji, having survived everything, continues as a sorcerer, but he's fundamentally changed. He's seen the cost of this life, buried too many people, and yet he continues because someone has to. There's no grand speech about protecting smiles or saving everyone. There's just the quiet determination to keep going, because the alternative is worse. One of the most overlooked elements of the ending is how it handles the merger, the potential catastrophe that Kenjaku spent centuries planning. It doesn't happen. Not because our heroes found some brilliant solution, but because the conditions that would trigger it fell apart during the chaos of the final battle. This anticlimactic resolution to such a built-up threat frustrated many readers, but it reflects a hard truth. Not every threat materializes, and sometimes catastrophes are averted through chaos and circumstance rather than heroic intervention. Looking forward, the implications of this ending are profound. Jujutsu society can no longer rely on a Gojo Satoru figure to maintain balance through overwhelming power. The binding vows, the political maneuvering, the exploitation of young sorcerers, all of these systemic issues remain. Yuji and his generation will have to navigate this world without a safety net, which suggests that future conflicts in this universe won't be about defeating a singular evil, but about reforming a broken system from within. The ending also leaves open questions about cursed energy itself. With Kenjaku gone and Sukuna defeated, the nature of cursed energy and its relationship to human consciousness remains a mystery that future sorcerers will have to explore. Yuki Tsukumo's research into breaking humanity free from cursed energy died with her, but the questions she raised haven't been answered. In the end, Jujutsu Kaisen's manga conclusion is exactly what the series always promised. Brutal, unflinching, and more interested in exploring the cost of fighting curses than celebrating easy victories. Gege Akutami refused to give us the comfort of traditional shonen resolution because that would betray everything the story stood for. The curses aren't gone. The system isn't fixed. The survivors are scarred. And yet they continue because that's what it means to be a Jujutsu sorcerer. This ending asks uncomfortable questions about whether breaking a cycle is even possible, or if we're condemned to repeat variations of the same tragedies with different faces. It's not the ending everyone wanted, but it might be the ending Jujutsu Kaisen needed to remain true to itself. Sometimes the most honest conclusion isn't satisfying, it's just real.